There was a report last night about how what, in my opinion, should have been a first ballot Hall of Fame coach, Bill Belichick, actually not being voted in. He fell short of the 40 of the 50 votes. You're required to garner 40 votes in order to be elected into the Hall of Fame. He was not voted in as a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I mean, the resume on the bottom there just speaks for itself. 6-time Super Bowl champ, 3-time AP Coach of the Year, and 12 appearances in the big game. So who in their right mind would think, that just taking a look at it, no, I don't think you've done enough. I mean, we've seen some guys that have made it in, and some people, scratch their heads a little bit like, okay, how in the world did that guy make it in the Hall of Fame? I didn't think he really had that good of a career. But here's the crazy, I'll just provide some context here. I was not really a big Bill Belichick fan growing up, just because, like a lot of people, I like seeing new, fresh blood in the big game every year. And when the Patriots would just win it over and over and over again, it kind of got mundane. So, naturally, I'm just going to be like, I don't like seeing Bill Belichick there all the time. He always wins. But at the same time, never in my mind did he think, he's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Is that really where we're getting to at this point? What even is Canton? What even is the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton anymore? I mean, what significance does that hold now? Because when you're talking about easily the greatest coach of all time, this would be like Nick Saban not being voted into the Hall of Fame for college football. Are we being serious right now? And for some voters to come out and just be like, the Spygate and Deflategate scandals kind of, were the overarching themes around this whole situation. Well, I've got an answer to that. What happened the year after Spygate? They went undefeated and lost to the New York Giants. What happened in Deflategate? Well, newsflash, and this is not rocket science by any means. It's science, but it's not rocket science. When the air gets a little bit colder, you know how you've got air in your tires, and people up north know that once the temperature drops below a certain point, the air starts to escape from your tires, and you start getting flat tires. What do you think happens with footballs? Like seriously, what do you think happens with footballs? Do you think, just because it's a football, the air is going to stay in it and it's just always going to be fully deflated? No, that's never going to happen. So I just don't understand who in their right mind thought, Bill Belichick, he shouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I'm not really buying the argument of some people being potentially like, I think Bill is going to get in, but I'm not going to vote for him because I think, he's going to get enough votes. I want to vote for someone else to potentially get in. That I just do not buy at all. So what you're telling me is 2 scandals, which, by the way, he ended up winning more Super Bowls later on in his career. I mean, what are you going to say about that? Are you just vacating 2 just because you're mad that he ended up winning? Like what is going on? I feel, in my opinion, the Hall of Fame is a joke now, and it's completely lost its value because Bill Belichick should be in the Hall of Fame without a doubt. I mean, this is like Derek Jeter. And I grew up not really a big Derek Jeter fan either because, as you may know, I'm a Mets fan. Never in my right mind was like, no, he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. He shouldn't be a unanimous Hall of Famer. I knew, like, as a sports person, I can recognize greatness. And no matter if they're going against my teams, if they're rivals, I can still respect greatness. So it's just a shame because, as I talked to Gerhard about earlier, what is this going to do with Tom Brady's legacy? Because obviously Brady was there for Spygate and Deflategate. So what are you going to say when it comes time? And I believe it's about 2 or 3 years from now when we're going to start seeing Tom Brady on the ballot. Are you going to say he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer because of Deflategate, because of Spygate? Are you going to say he's not a Hall of Famer because of those and then went on to win more and went on to win without Bill Belichick as well? So what are you going to say about that? The Hall of Fame has lost its mind, and I'm honestly glad that so many people are speaking out about this monstrosity, because I just cannot believe that this is still a thing. I refuse to believe it, because this is the greatest NFL coach of all time, and he's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Everyone has lost their minds. This whole thing makes no sense. Unfortunately, the Hall of Fame has lost some of its value, and it definitely, the voters definitely lost their integrity there, because, you know, it's just a shame. And I know some people might have their thoughts about the Baseball Hall of Fame with, you know, the PED users, and a lot of people that, you know, ended up juicing during the 90s didn't really get in. And I mean, there were some that got in. Most notably, I believe David Ortiz. There were some scandals and accusations around him, but he ended up getting in. So it's just unfortunate that Canton has come to this, and Bill Belichick will get in. He'll probably get in next year, but there's always, at the very least, he's going to be talked about for what seems like forever, because this has honestly been the biggest joke in the history of the Football Hall of Fame. That's my rant. That's why I think, you know, this has just been crazy, because if it's not crazy to you, then I don't know. This is just crazy to me. But